Welcome to Northwest, a Unitarian Universalist congregation, where we are gathering this morning, both virtually and in person, as one connected church community. I'm Alex Meyers, my pronouns are he and they, and I'm your worship leader for this morning's service. We, the members of the Northwest Unitarian Universalist congregation, aspire to be a welcoming, diverse, multi-generational, and inclusive congregation. To this end, we endeavor to treat each other with respect, trust, kindness, and patience, foster expression of ideas, beliefs, values, identities, and experiences, lift one another and the congregation as a whole, provide a supportive environment for all sharing hope on this journey, listen and learn together while caring for each other and the planet, and build a fair, peaceful, and socially responsible world. May we create a beloved community with a gentle heart and thoughtful ear, and maintain this community with our 8 Unitarian Universalist principles as our guide. We welcome Eli Kranz as our guest speaker this morning. He grew up in the Saginaw Valley in a small town called Auburn. He has ping-ponged across the state for college and life and landed in the Metro Detroit area in 2008. Working in media and then automotive, Eli has spent his professional life teaching and facilitating. A friend of First Unitarian Universalist congregation in Ann Arbor, he taught owl, sang in the choir, and served on the lay leadership council. He is honored for the opportunity to work and grow with this vibrant community in Southfield, not Detroit. He lives in the Riverdale neighborhood of Detroit by the River Rouge with his favorite elder pup, Rocco. We also have Bożena Lamparska, our guest pianist, leading our communal singing this morning. Each month, we contemplate a theme using Soul Matters. This month, we are considering the concept of generosity. Today's message asks us to explore the question, how to receive generosity, either physical, spiritual, or emotional from our community. If you are a visitor online and would like Northwest to stay in touch with you, please fill out the visitor form appearing in the chat box. If you are with us in person, you can fill out the visitor sign-in form in the atrium. And now please greet your neighbors with a wave from wherever you are. And now, before we begin the prelude, let's all take a deep breath and settle into a time of worship. Thank you, Bożena. We have a few announcements to share with you. More information about our events and the congregation are posted in the weekly newsletter and on our website, northwestuu.org. You're invited to join us for the potluck, coffee, and tea after today's service in the multipurpose room. You can also pick up your winnings from the service auction in the atrium and shop at the rummage sale for holiday items in room A. On the note of the service auction, do we happen to have the numbers yet for announcement? 31,000 plus is what I seem to recall. So we shot our goal and beyond, so congratulations. Yeah, we're well over our goal. That's phenomenal. Our next joint worship service will be here at Northwest on Sunday, November 19th. That's next Sunday. After the service, join the Committee on Ministry and Right Relationships for a community conversation regarding the joint worship services between Northwest and First UU. We'll also invite folks from First UU to join this listening session to hear about what's working and what next steps need to be taken. Adore, a dialogue on race and ethnicity, is a monthly gathering to have a dialogue on race and ethnicity. Once again, we will need to postpone the in-person hybrid conversation due to scheduling issues. The next session will be via Zoom on Wednesday, November 29th from 7 to 8:30 p.m. During this month's virtual conversation, we will explore implicit and explicit bias and the implications that they have for our personal interactions and social institutions. Everyone is welcome. Please consider joining the conversation. It's facilitated by Mary Mueller and Kathy Henry. And we have a new date for Getting to Know UU. Have you attended Northwest UU and want to know more about Unitarian Universalism? Please join us for Getting to Know UU on Sunday, December 10th after the service. Come learn more about Unitarian Universalist principles and history, the governing board and committees of Northwest UU Church, and our religious education program. We'd like to take this opportunity to get to know you. Childcare is available. And now, please rise and body your spirit, and join me in singing hymn number 298, Wake Now My Senses.
Wake now my senses that lately have drawn, feel the dark hour of lonely
Good morning. We begin our worship service with a land acknowledgement. We honor and pay our respects to the land on which we live and work, which was violently stolen through colonialism, genocide, and forced removal of its traditional stewards. These stewards are the Anishinaabeg, the Council of the Three Fires, which include the Ottawa, Ojibwe, Potawatomi, also known as Ottawa, Chippewa, and Potawatomi tribes. We also acknowledge the people of African descent who were forcibly removed from their land and separated from their families through kidnapping and enslavement, and pay reverence and respect to them for building this country's infrastructure and economy with no compensation or reparations to date. This morning, we light our chalice, the symbol of our faith, knowing this morning that many other Unitarian Universalist congregations across this land and around the world are doing the same. We do so with words from Reverend Michelle Collins. As we light this chalice with its freely shared light and freely shared warmth, let us be reminded of the many things that are freely shared with us and that we freely share with others. May we lean into generosity shared from the heart that can warm those around us.
Rise up, O flame, by thy light glow. Show to us beauty, vision,
One purpose of a religious community is to encourage all who gather together to grow more generous in spirit and in action. This is the great end of all the world's faith traditions, to bring the human being closer to the divine by acts of creation and compassion. We now take an offering that allows us to exercise that all-important generosity of spirit, an offering that will mutually support this self-supporting congregation and the shared plate recipient. Every other month throughout the year, Northwest shares 50% of the plate collections with the Southfield Emergency Needs Fund. Their goal is to help residents overcome personal hurdles to achieve a satisfying and productive quality of life. Human Services is a division of Southfield Community Relations. You can donate in a variety of ways that are now visible on your screen. For those of you who are here in person, we will pass a collection basket around for cash and checks. One of our traditions here at Northwest is packing Thanksgiving baskets for families in need. You're invited to bring non-perishable items to Northwest on the Sunday before Thanksgiving, which is next week on November 19th, and set up the store in the multipurpose room. The list of items to donate can be found in the newsletter. The school-aged children and youth are divided into groups and go shopping for a family whose basket, a large storage bin, they are packing. The bins are decorated and delivered to the City of Southfield Human Services Department for distribution to families. So this morning, we will also take a special collection. 100% of this plate collection will go towards purchasing gift cards for fresh food or other items not included in their baskets. Thank you for participating in this project.
I light one more candle for those things not yet shared, for the challenges and blessings you may be holding in your hearts. Amen. Sources of radiance and resilience, keep watch with those who work or watch or weep this night. May the suffering be soothed, may the sick be tended, may the weary find rest, may the dying and those who love them find peace. May the joyous be shielded, and may all know that we are surrounded in a love that is with us always, a web that connects us to all that exists. May we take a few moments of silence to be with each other in the sacred space. We will come out singing.
I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, from you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
We have a responsive reading this morning. Our words come from Sarah Moores Campbell, "Give us the spirit of the child." The words will be posted on the screen. Give us the spirit of the child. Give us the child who lives within.
Child who trusts.
And there we go.
There we go.
The child who trusts, the child who imagines, the child who sings. The child who receives without reservation, the child who gives without judgment. Give us a child's eyes, that we may receive the beauty and freshness of this day like a sunrise. Give us a child's ears, that we may hear the music of mythical times. Give us a child's heart, that we may be filled with wonder and delight. Give us a child's faith, that we may be cured of our cynicism. Give us the spirit of the child who is not afraid to need, who is not afraid to love.
From you
Our reading this morning comes from Ojibwe author Louise Erdrich. Life will break you. Nobody can protect you from that, and living alone won't either, for solitude will also break you with its yearning. You have to love. You have to feel. It is the reason you are here on earth. You are here to risk your heart. You are here to be swallowed up. And when it happens that you are broken or betrayed or left or hurt or death brushes near, let yourself sit by an apple tree and listen to the apples falling all around you in heaps, wasting their sweetness. Tell yourself you tasted as many as you could. And join me in singing hymn number 407. We're going to sit at the welcome table.
I had never lived alone in my life until February of 2020. And it was the first time I ever wanted to live alone. I had to get out of the place that I was living, and finally a tiny 600 square foot apartment seemed to be the answer. It had an uneven floor, but they didn't care that my dog weighed 65 pounds, and they were willing to let me move in a month. And it had so many windows, so much light. It would work. I would begin my journey of independent living, unaware of what was going to begin in the next month of March 2020. My independence became isolation, as it did for so many people during lockdown. All plans of weeknight dinners with friends, leaving the house, they got canceled, and life became strange and horrible. I still learned a lot in that time. I began healing from where I had come from. Since I was isolated, I was allowed to have those really ugly moments that happen when you're healing, all peace and quiet to myself. And to just be as awful and angry as I needed to be. No chance, of course, that this was a breeding ground for bad habits, to become worse, or to pick up new bad habits. No. No chance that this new independent living wasn't being built on a foundation of a lifelong history of believing that needing help was an inconvenience to others. The weekend that I moved, that Friday, I got kidney stones. I still moved. And the entire weekend, my beloved family was helping me, and I was just the chorus of, this is so kind of you, no, don't worry too much about it, just put it anywhere, it doesn't matter, don't work too hard on my account. And that kept going and going and going until I passed out in a chair. Thankfully, it was during we were putting my couch together, but my sister is not the type to leave anything undone, so she got that finished. While I was in that apartment, I went through illnesses, sciatica flare-up, all of these things, all alone. I didn't ask for help. Who could come? It wasn't safe for people to leave their homes. But I also closed myself off to emotional support at that time. Other people were going through so much. I'd figure it out on my own. It is not exactly a mystery to me where these habits come from, and they come from multiple places in my life. I'm not sure I was ever really set up for success when it came to knowing how to receive help. And to be honest, I see a lot of my peers struggle with this having a hard time asking for help. Most of us are really rotten at it. And I have wonderful models in my life of giving. My mom is everyone's mom. Every single friend I had considered her a second mother because she was generous with her warmth, food, the house, time, things that they didn't have at home. And my dad, he will take in any stray, human or animal, if you let him. My grandmother Ruth, she had a rule. You date or marry anyone in the family, doesn't matter if there's a breakup or divorce, you still have a plate at the holidays waiting for you. Such generous hearts and spirits, but I can't recall any of them ever asking for help. It was always a struggle. At school, we were taught to share, but not really how to ask, beyond how to ask politely, please and thank you. All through elementary, I was in what they called the gifted program. This is not a brag, because hindsight, this was a terrible idea. Having a kid take a test in grade 1 and then immediately separating them from the other students. Yes, the classes that I had were more challenging, which was great. But there was also this unwritten clause that you were supposed to be good at everything already. And if you were bad at something, well, that was a personal failing. There were no lessons on how to tackle something you weren't good at, how to ask for help, and how to receive help in a nurturing way. We are headed into the season of giving. Holidays and generosity, they go hand in hand. Think about the most generous person you know. Think about your own generosity. When we engage in active giving, it feels good. There are study upon study, and believe me, when I was researching this sermon, I read about 20 of these studies, paper upon paper, that tout the benefits of giving. We feel connected to one another, fulfilled, to feed, to clothe, to help, to lift up those who need help. It fills our spirit. Now I want you to think about needing help, about having to ask for help, or for someone to see that you need help and offer generosity. Does something in you pull back a little bit, retreat into yourself, fold up into itself? Just me? Something in me yanks back at that thought, and I immediately begin to tick through all the ways I don't actually need help, that I should have figured it out on my own by now, and shame starts to sink into all the crevices of me. We are really rotten at accepting generosity. It rubs up against everything we are told to need help, or worse, just want help. What's the narrative we hear? Burden, freeloader, taking from those who really need it. The very human experience of needing support has been twisted and warped so severely, while the saintliness of giving has been lifted up, but only if you do it right. Give to a charity, but not $1 to the person on the corner. Give to a food pantry, but don't feed people in the park. We've moralized it all. So no wonder we get all twisted up in ourselves, but we're compelled to give as much as we can. The cult of hyper-individualism has shrouded our vision. If you can't do it all yourself, then you have failed. And be careful how you give. Make sure you only give to the deserving. And you know, I can figure it out on my own. I have. And you know how I felt at the end? Exhausted. I didn't feel accomplished. I didn't feel proud. I felt abandoned, neglected. It doesn't have to be this way. Here in this space, this is a space where we can dream together. No solutions, no 20-step plan to change the world. We have committees for that. Here, in this space, together, we can begin to imagine what it would be like if these harmful narratives and systems were eroded. We are blessed to prophetically imagine what it would feel like, be like, if we took away the morality of having a need. What would happen if we snipped that connection between need and shame? You have a need, you let people know that you have that need, and they come together to help, and you are helped. There is a place where I see an example, the start of a framework. I grew up in the Catholic Church, and I was so proud when I was finally able to take communion. I was a bit too young to really understand the theological implications of it, but I just knew that it was something that my community did together. It was a ritual, and everyone was welcome to it. Growing older, I realized that is not the case. Those traditions that practice communion or the Eucharist have constructed many barriers to the bread and the wine, to the body and the blood. But I've never hesitated to take something from my religious past and suit it to my current needs, so I'm not going to hesitate to do that now. The spirit of communion is that everyone is welcome to the table, no questions asked. Rachel Held Evans said that the gospel doesn't need a coalition devoted to keeping the wrong people out. It needs a family of sinners saved by grace, committed to tearing down the walls, throwing open the doors, and shouting, "Welcome. There's bread and wine. Come eat with us and talk." This isn't a kingdom for the worthy, it is a kingdom for the hungry. I know gospels and sinners are not terms that we tend to throw around UU spaces, but I like them. Gospel is good news. And sinners are simply people who have existed, have wounded and been wounded, have missed the mark as much as they have hit it. They are people who have gathered in the knowledge of what they share. Another thing I came across as I was thinking about this sermon was with this book by Anna Woofenden. It's called This is God's Table, Finding Church Beyond the Walls. Anna is a minister, and she started this thing called Garden Church. It was in an open, abandoned lot in San Pedro, LA. And the mission was simply a place for people to come and be fed, physically and or spiritually. There was no one that came was made to listen to the sermon. They could just come and eat or work in the garden or stand around and watch, slip in, slip out. She spoke so much about communion, giving, and generosity, and the messiness of having an open table. There was this moment, though, where she spoke of a member of her church turning and giving her communion instead of her giving it to them. It was a moment that was noticed by her gathered congregation and reminded them how important it is not only to give, but allow yourself to receive. Now think about the last time someone refused your generosity. What did that feel like? It felt like a gift was denied, right? It is a gift to accept help. Allow other people the gift of being able to help you. even if you aren't ready to believe the true fact that you deserve help simply by existing. Allow yourself to accept help because it is a gift to other people. It connects us, fulfills us. Let us be empowered to come to the table, not just to feed, but to be fed. To open our hearts to receiving generosity without shame, without disclaimers, without explanation. Through our imagination, we can see a path forward. We are deserving because we are, because we exist. This fact breaks down the barriers that moralizing generosity builds up. If I am welcome to this table, no questions asked, then so are you and others. We are asked to open our wallets this giving season, but let us also open our doors, to throw them open and shout welcome. Come and be fed. And let us come together to sing. You are invited to rise in body and spirit and join me in singing hymn 414 as we leave this friendly place.
Oh, I guess we're doing choice? Okay.
Please repeat after me. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of hope.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of hope.
The warmth of community.
The warmth of community.
Or the fire of commitment.
Or the fire of commitment.
These we carry in our hearts.
These we carry in our hearts.
Until we are together again.
Until we are together again. I hear there is food. So let us go practice what we've learned today. Go in peace and love, go feed and be fed and be together in community until we meet again. Amen. Blessed be, may it be so.